everyone. I just thought we'd take this opportunity while we're in lockdown to catch up with our mortgage broker, Peter, and introduce you and see if there's any information we might be able to pass along that people find helpful in these tricky times. So Peter has helped many of our clients, and he's helped all of my family, a number of my friends, and even actually myself with my lending. So he's certainly earned his stripes with us, and hopefully we can share some insights with you today that might help you too. I think Peter will be happy for me to first say that our discussion today is of a general nature. Obviously, you always need to go and get your own independent advice that are relevant to your own circumstances. So please make sure that anything we're chatting about today that you do go and do your own research on, get your own advice. And I'm sure if you wanted to reach out to Peter afterwards, he would be more than happy to have a chat about those individual circumstances. Have I covered everything there, Peter?
You have. Thank you, Dione. Hi, everybody. Thank you for the lovely intro. Happy to help out best I possibly can. You know, you've known me many years now.
Yes. So day one of stage 4, how are you coping?
Oh, look, I'm like everybody else. Frustrated, happy, unhappy, all the emotions are there. I'm no different to anybody else. So, yeah, we just need to get on with it. We really do.
Yes, exactly. Well, the reason I wanted to have a little bit of a chat is obviously the first time we went into lockdown, a number of people would have taken up the bank's options to put their mortgages on hold. A number of different things. People will be pausing them, I guess, and some are taking, changing the way they're doing their repayments. What sort of percentage of clients did you see take up those options with the bank?
Look, I think it's contrary to what some numbers have been bantered about out there. I mean, 800,000 has been suggested by some media sources out there. If you look at that as a number, I don't know whether that's right or not or anything. But if you look at that as a number, it's actually less than 5% of all home borrowers to date who have found themselves in some form of financial stress, you know, having been stood down or they've been made redundant from their jobs or whatever it might be. Some people out there have been lucky enough and found alternative work already elsewhere. Some continue to search and they're grateful for the current job seeker arrangement, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, for our business, not a great number of our clients have taken up the offer of mortgage relief or repayment holidays as such at this stage. There have been a few, but not a great deal. But of course, now that we're in stage 4 lockdown, it could very well change. You know, we just need to wait and see and hope for the best, really.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would have thought that the numbers would have been a lot higher. I know a lot of people that I've spoken to, our clients, family and friends. There's a large portion of those people who have taken it up for one reason or another. Of the people that have taken it up, do you think that they've done it out of necessity or more out of a precautionary mode?
From what I've seen with our business and some of my colleagues out there, many of them has been pretty much precautionary.
Yeah.
Purely just to try and control their cash flow in case something happens at a later date. You know, you plan for the worst and you hope for the best sort of thing. So certainly some have been for immediate need, absolutely. But a lot of it's been precautionary from what I've actually seen out there in the marketplace.
Yeah, I know when I put my own mortgages on hold initially, because we just didn't know what we were facing, mine was a precautionary move. And obviously I took it for 6 months and we're halfway through. So it's a little hard now that we've just entered a different stage to know what the right thing to do is moving forward. I understand a number of the large banks have actually said that they will allow people to extend on a case-by-case basis or
review
their arrangements.
Yep.
Yeah. So all the lenders, all the major lenders?
Look, it's all the major lenders, yes. The smaller lenders are coming on board as well. It's a tricky one because if you're in financial stress, the banks don't want you to default on your loan. They don't. They're there to help, you know, and they have a moral obligation to try and help. The last thing the bank wants to do is take possession of your house and throw you out on the street. It's just not done. So, you know, it really isn't. But yeah, look, from what we've seen, the people that we've been dealing with, it's mainly been for around the six month mark. People have put their mortgages on hold for 6 months. Yeah. I know there's a handful of my clients that have done it. After 3 months, things have gotten back to before stage 4 started, of course, they've gone back to, they've called the banks and said, all right, I'm back at work, everything's back to normal for me now, let's go back to normal, and they've done it, sort of thing. But now the stage started a couple of days ago, we'll see what happens now.
Yeah, yeah. And what was sort of the sentiment for you as we were coming out of lockdown the first time around? How did everything feel market-wise?
Our experience has been mainly positive, if you can call it that, considering what's going on out there. Most of the borrowers understand that this type of thing's really never happened before. So we're all basically in uncharted territory. We need to work together to get through it, we really do. I had one particular borrower a few weeks back now. She became quite emotional, which was quite hard. I mean, it was quite hard. But once we talked it out and we got through it all, she had a much better understanding of the situation. She was fine. She got on with it, and she will be fine. The situation isn't anywhere near as dire as what you thought it would be, sort of thing. So
yeah,
we'll be fine as well. As long as we don't do silly things, we'll be fine. We'll get through it. We will.
What would be a silly thing, Pete?
Oh, I can only. Where do I start? Lots of silly things going on out there.
You mean with lending or with other matters?
Other matters, other things.
Okay, all right. And so the cases started to rise again before we sort of obviously ended up where we are today in stage 4. Did you sort of feel a change before they put us back into stage 3?
It's a good question. Borrowers who were not impacted by the lockdown, such as your essential services workers, police, ambulance, nurses, doctors, that sort of stuff, they're basically continuing normal. Obviously with some minor alterations on how they get things done, but yes, for them it's business as usual. They get on with it. Many people out there that they're still looking to save money, and a lot of them are looking at refinancing where possible.
Yeah.
Simply, it's interesting because a lot of people trying to look at refinancing because we've never seen rates at this level ever before in the history of lending in Australia. I mean, we're crazy low rates at the moment. So people who are able to refinance, they're certainly calling us and say, hey, look, I'm still paying 3.6 or 3.5%. What can we do? Can we move this elsewhere and take advantage of the current situation? Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So we get a bit of that, we are.
And so I think I have one of these questions coming up a little bit later, but if people are wanting to try and refinance, like what do they need to be thinking about at the moment?
Okay, so it's a combination of things. If they're looking at refinancing, they've got to consider income, obviously. I mean, the banks aren't going to consider it if there's no income, basically,
Yeah.
Being stood down from current job, you've just got no hope, sort of thing. So that's all the basic things, As long as there's good conduct and everything, their employment is secure, we're not going to have an issue.
And what sort of rates should people be looking at if they're refinancing? Where are they likely to sort of come in at the moment? Or what would their rate be for them to consider it worthwhile to refinance?
We've been refinancing and fixing a lot of people at the moment, and we're in the low 2s in terms of fixed loans. So owner-occupied, we're in the low 2s. For investment properties, we're in the mid to high 2s, sort of thing. So pretty much most things has got a 2 in front of it.
Yeah.
Where 2 years ago, if you got something less than 4%, we were all celebrating, cracking up.
I've just lost you there, Pete.
Is that better? Sorry.
Yeah. So if you could just go back through that last little bit again. So yeah, we thought at 4%, we thought we were on a great wicket.
Yeah, we're at just under 4%, we're on a great wicket, and we're all celebrating, sort of thing. Now, if it's still got a 3 in front of it, we're saying, "What are you doing? You're crazy!" Just about.
Yeah.
But again, everyone's circumstances are different. So everyone's lending profile is different. So it all comes down to whether you're going to qualify for those rates or not, et cetera, basically.
Yeah. And I had someone say to me the other day, and I'm probably springing this one on you a little bit, they said that they couldn't have any reference to JobKeeper on their payslip. So if someone is still actively employed but has their employer is using a JobKeeper supplement, does that actually affect their ability to lend or?
Absolutely. So if the payslip has the words JobKeeper on it,
yeah,
the dollar amount to it, whether it's 1 cent or $1, okay, won't be looked at. Simple as
right.
that.
Okay.
Simple as that. Won't be looked at because that's not an income. That's a supplement from the government. This is what they need to understand.
Yeah.
the JobKeeper program is not a salary. It's a supplement from the government given to the employer to help them continue to employ their people to keep things moving. So it's about trying to keep businesses running.
Yeah, right.
Substitutes, so in that regard, my understanding is that ASIC C would it be responsible lending for a lender to give someone who's on JobKeeper, which is not a salary, it's a supplement, a new home loan, given the current situation. So it wouldn't really be responsible lending. So it comes under that category. That's my understanding.
So if we were to be meeting buyers out in the market at the moment who had recently received a pre-approval, what is the bank's policy on existing pre-approvals? Are they reassessing everyone?
Absolutely everybody. So the very first thing they're going to ask for is the most current payslip. In a lot of cases, they're asking for a letter from their employer to confirm that everything's still going along as normal. They're trading profitably and going along normal as well. We're getting a lot of those requests. So they're doing everything right up to the last minute. They are absolutely everything.
Yeah, right.
Regardless whether you got pre-approved 2 weeks ago or not, they're still wanting up-to-date financials, everything.
Yeah, which makes sense. Yeah, with what's happening in the climate. And in relation to timing, how long is it taking for people to get sort of pre-approval or refinance?
Look, because of everything that's going on, it's taking a little bit longer than normal to get things done. We're certainly getting things done. The banks are very cautious in terms of processing times and everything. We're finding that for the basic things, 2 to 3 weeks, we're getting the job done. But if you're using a lender that uses overseas processing centres, because of a lot of the overseas processing centres, they've all been closed down because they've been impacted by this whole COVID thing. Well, they're drawn right out 5, 6, 7 weeks in some cases. It's crazy, it really is.
Yeah.
Certainly not getting things done in 2 or 3 days anymore. No, not seeing that at all.
That hasn't happened for a little while, Pete.
I had one done probably 2 weeks ago. Got it done in 3 days. So yeah, that was good. But it was all done again. It was all done locally. See, it was a local lender. It was local processing. Everything was done.
Okay. And so if the banks are still going and rechecking everyone, is there still value in buyers going through that initial pre-approval process? Does it actually help to speed up that next step? Well,
it does. It gets them in the system. So the pre-checks at the lenders go through a couple of different processes. So we as brokers, we gather all the information, make sure all the information is what the lenders want. Once we've got all that, we package it all up, we send it to the lender. Then the lenders have what do they call pre-assessment centres or pre-assessment teams that they look at all the stuff that we've sent them to make sure that we've ticked all the boxes. Is there 2 pay slips? Yes. Or is there 2 years of tax returns? Yes. Have the tax returns been lodged? Yes. Do we have 6 months of home loan statements if they're refinancing? Yes. Do we have 3 months of credit card statements? Yes, all that sort of stuff. So they're going through all that. Then once the pre-assessment people are happy, then they can put it in the assessment queue, and that's where we've just got to sit and wait for someone to physically pick it up and look at it all.
Okay. And then when they come to actually purchase a property, then they would just revisit that information to make sure it's all still current?
When they come to purchase, if they purchase at the moment, I would be advising people to make sure they can purchase with a finance clause. I know lots of real estate agents would prefer not to have that, but we've got to look at the times that we're in. And then once they purchase, we need to have the most recent payslip, most recent savings statement to make sure they've got money to complete the transaction, et cetera, send it off, and then it should only take a couple of days from there. Once it's been approved and it's gone through the whole system, then it should only take a few days.
And that's what I have found from the agency side. And whilst we're very well aware that people would need to have subject to finance clauses at the moment, what we are looking at is the fact that they have done all of that homework beforehand, because obviously listening to what you're talking about, there is a lot of paperwork that needs to be gathered, and it is a slow process if you're going right from the start. And no owner is going to want to leave their property sitting in uncertain territory for 5 to 6 weeks. So if there are any buyers out there, we do want to encourage them to particularly use if you're in Victoria, in the metro area, use this next 6 weeks to get all that paperwork in order and get your pre-approval in place, because it will help speed up the process after.
Very, very important. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Excellent. Sorry, go ahead, Pete.
Get yourself in the system, but not if you're on JobKeeper.
Unfortunately, we've probably just disappointed a few people there, but they can still, obviously get a bit of homework done for when they're back on the payroll in a formal capacity.
Absolutely, absolutely, yep.
Fantastic. And is there anything else that you sort of get asked regularly, or you feel people should know when considering, finance or what's happening out there in that kind of market?
I think a big thing that people need to consider is the common sense factor. I know I, for one, often say common sense isn't very common, and it's not. But we need to exercise the common sense factor, So you need to understand we get one crack at this, so we've got to convince the lenders that we're good for the loan, in a nutshell. So so if there's something that doesn't seem quite right, as a broker, we'll tell our borrowers, look, this doesn't seem quite right. Maybe we need to wait 2 or 3 weeks or something just to get this sorted, et cetera, et cetera. An example of that, if you're late on your credit card payment by 1 or 2 days, that'll kill the deal, essentially.
Right, yeah.
Because it immediately tells the lender, no, they don't pay their bills on time, so therefore do we want this particular borrower on our books? That's what it says. And most people don't realise that. Most people think, oh, yeah, I'm only 1 or 2 days late, who cares, sort of thing. Well, in borrowing, several $100,000 for a home loan, it makes a big deal, because it comes down to character of the borrower, sort of thing. So don't pay your credit cards 1 or 2 days late. Pay them 1 or 2 days early. Yep. So if your due date is the 25th, pay it on the 23rd. That's my advice to everybody. Just make sure everything is squeaky clean and perfect.
Yeah. And so what duration do they look back at over their credit card statements when you're making the application? 3 months.
3 months. Yep. I look back 3 months. Yeah. If we're refinancing, 3 months. If we're refinancing home loans, 6 months minimum. One particular lender has started asking for minimum 12 months transactions as a guide. So is that an indication that could be everybody later on? We don't know at this point. You know what I mean? Yeah, but they look at conduct. 3 months credit card conduct and 6 months home loan conduct. Absolutely. And it's got to be squeaky clean.
Squeaky clean. Got it.
Late payments, no overdrawn fees, none of that, because that will just kill it. Really will.
And I know when people deal with a real estate agent, I'm sure you have the same thing, Pete. They often think that they're doing themselves a favour by not giving us all the information. It actually makes it more difficult for us to help them. And I know in your line of work, you would be better off dealing with any potential issues on the front foot with the lenders rather than finding these things out as part of the application process.
Correct. Biggest thing that we've had, the biggest challenge we've had is non-disclosure. People need to understand that non-disclosure is probably the worst thing you could ever do. So an example is several months ago, I had some clients who were, one of them, the wife is self-employed and the husband has got a job, normal everyday job in senior management. So she's self-employed, and for the business, she runs a little shop. And for that, to buy all the stock and everything, she uses a couple of credit cards. So she's got a couple of credit cards. They've got about $40,000 or $50,000 limit on them, which is a lot. It's a high credit card limit, but that's managed purely by the business. And what they didn't realise is that the credit cards are in their individual names. And when we did the application for them, they didn't tell me about that because the business looks after that. So that all comes under the business, not their own personal name. So they did it innocently, right? So once we put the application through and everything, et cetera, it came back as an immediate decline because they didn't declare 2 credit cards. So, and no discussions, immediate decline, no, don't want to know them. We had to move on to another lender.
Yeah, right. And probably on that, Pete, for any real novice first home buyers out there, they probably are not aware that when you have a credit card, even if your credit card limit or your balance is 0, but your limit is $5,000, they will assume that you're in $5,000 of debt. Am I right there?
They assess on the limit, not on the balance. Yeah. Even if you haven't used the credit card for the last 6 months, you can still go out tomorrow and spend $5,000 on it, and that's what they err on.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Very good. So I'm sure that over the next 6 weeks, you will be able to help people in a remote fashion with all of their financial applications and needs.
Absolutely. I'm available on all sorts of U-Butte apps that they've got. They've got Zoom, they've got Google Hangouts, they've got WhatsApp, all then even this one that we're on today. So yeah, all sorts of things. Yeah.
We'll make sure that we distribute all of your details along with this one. Lost you again. There we go.
Sorry, I missed that. My phone started ringing again.
That's okay. We'll make sure we share your details with everyone here. So hopefully you're nice and busy with lots of people with lots of questions and those pre-approvals coming through.
Absolutely. Happy to help out wherever I can.
Excellent. Well, it's been awesome talking to you today, Peter. Thank you for sharing all that information with our clients.
No problem. Thank you. All the best and stay safe.
Yes, stay safe, everybody.
All the best.